stunningly beautiful place, but it's beautiful in spirit too.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing up there that's bad. And here's what I can tell you. I know so many people who have gone up to Wellington and have felt the same pull and connection that I have.
Yeah.
And I mean, it draws people in, and people read the book and they're drawn to it. It's not necessarily, I mean, there are some people who are drawn to it because they want to go see ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're always going to have that percentage
Right.
of the
Right.
population. But there are people who are drawn to it because there's something that pulls you in.
Well,
And
the
I
feeling
can't
that I get.
tell you how many people have said to me, you know, Wellington changed my life.
Yeah.
Wellington made me believe in my abilities. Wellington made me believe in spirits. Wellington made me believe in the existence of consciousness after death. I'm one of those people.
Yeah. Exactly. But I mean, the feeling that I get too when you describe it, there's got to be such a serenity.
It is. It's beautiful. Wellington is my Zen place.
Mm-hmm.
When things are really, really, really crazy for me in my life, as long as it's summer,
Right.
because
Yeah.
you can only get
Yeah.
into Wellington from
Yep.
about the beginning of July until the end of October because
Mm-hmm.
of the snow.
Right.
But when I have horrible things going on in my life, and we all do, we all have stressful things that
Sure.
happen, I can go up to Wellington, and no matter what's going on in my life, I get there, and the second I step out of my car, it's like,
You can breathe. Absolutely.
yeah.
So when you finished The Ghost of Wellington, how
Mhm.
long did it take you to start writing your second book,
Well, I
Frazier
wrote
Dancing with the Afterlife?
Avalanche of Spirits it came out in March of 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And people kept asking, what are you going to do for your next book? And I kept saying, I have to find a subject I'm passionate about. But it's almost like, have you ever heard a mom who only has one baby say they're worried about having another baby because they don't know that they could ever love any baby as much as they love their baby, and they're afraid that have you heard
Yeah.
moms say
Yeah.
that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of that, but at the same time, I felt this pressure like, oh my God, I've got to write something. I'm an author. I've got to write a book, but I can't write something unless I'm passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't, I was kind of coming up blank. And then this past summer, I had a series, well, the last couple of years, really, I've had a series of rather extraordinary experiences. And this past summer at Wellington was, even more life-changing than my first summer at Wellington, if you can believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And so but I didn't think I was going to write about it. And then I did the same thing that I did with the Avalanche of Spirits. One day I had this thing poking at me, and I thought, I got to write something. And I thought it was going to be a blog post. And, a week later, I was bleary eyed and, half starved. Okay, that's just not true. But I was tired. And I mean, I'd sat there for an entire week
Wow.
for 18 hours a day and just did this. And there I had another book. Who knew?
Now,
You.
do you feel that there's some sort of past life connection for you when you wrote about Avalanche, that maybe you might have been one of those souls? Or is that why people would have that connection?
So Wellington is the second half of my book of Dancing with the Afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
Part 2 is called Confluence.
Oh.
And that is because Wellington this summer became for me the confluence of all of the afterlife research that I personally have been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question without, giving it all away?
It does indeed.
It does indeed. Because I was going to ask you if you've ever done any research on any of the victims or any of
yes.
the survivors or the people who lost their life.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I have. I've looked into there's one passenger in particular that I have felt a great deal of connection with, but I thought there's a logical reason. She was a journalist. She was young, and she was a divorcee who was heading west on the train to write an adventure about the Wild West for McClure's magazine. And so I thought, of course, I was drawn to her because we have a similar passion for
Mm-hmm.
writing.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly a similar relationship history too, because I've been divorced twice. I'm on my third marriage, and this was a woman in 1910 who got a divorce. Think about that for a
Yeah.
minute.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But
Unheard.
I know, but she's also described, and my friends will tell you, and I don't sound like this is my personality right now, but those who know me know it is. She's described as short, broad, and irrepressible. It was one of the ways she was described, and a somebody else described her as a decidedly stout woman of ebullient good humor.
Oh, I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
and yeah, that kind of sounds a lot like me. My husband read that description and he was like, "Wow, you sound like you would like this chick." So,
I would think so. I think
yeah,
that describes you pretty well.
it does. I am, so I felt a connection with her, and I'll just leave it at that and say that I did explore that. I'm so sorry. Somebody drove up and my dogs are going off.
Oh,
They'll
it's okay.
stop. There are four of them. They have lots of legs. We're building a big dog out of four small ones.
They're little. They're little. They build up. I love it.
That's right. That's right.
So is Dancing with the Afterlife, is it based on one character or is it based on multiple characters or
So, Dancing with the Afterlife is my memoir.
mm-hmm.
It's Dancing with the Afterlife, a paranormal memoir. And while it features heavily on this past summer at Wellington, it actually looks at how I've been looking into and chasing the afterlife for a long time. And it also talks about me coming to terms with my abilities, which
Mm-hmm.
is something that I've been in pretty heavy denial about.
Yeah, you have.
And so what I say is, well, I didn't exactly not tell my full story when I wrote Avalanche of Spirits. It turned out to not be the full story.
Mm-hmm.
And so I needed to be very open about it because I think people who believe in the things that I believe in and people who have the abilities that I have, there are a lot of people like me and like how I was. They're afraid to talk about it because it's weird, because maybe they come from this really strong religious background where that's just not okay.
Right.
Or whether because people tell you that you're a charlatan or whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
There's a lot of negativity around the paranormal. I think that there are a lot of people who have these things that happen to them and they don't want to believe it or they
Mm-hmm.
can't bring themselves to believe it because they don't want to be singled out. And I got to tell you, I guess for me, what it felt like was when I sat down to write without knowing I was going to write a book. When I sat down and started writing Dancing with the Afterlife, it was like all of these years of me really being the one who would, when you're at a seminar or something and somebody says, who here thinks they have abilities? And, there are the people who like jump up and down and wave their arms. And then there are the people who maybe like wave a pinky. I
Yeah.
was the one that was waving a pinky or
Mm-hmm.
maybe doing like an auction bidding thing where I'd raise my eyebrow or blink or something.
Yeah.
And so there are those people, and all of a sudden I couldn't be that person anymore. I wasn't being true to who I was. I wasn't being free and open. And I thought, if I can be free and open in this way, and I can talk to other people and let them understand and see my progression, maybe it'll make their progression easier too, because it feels so much better now. It still feels very uncomfortable. When I came on Paradigm Shift here, when he did his first show just a couple weeks, last week, was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Last week. Yeah.
yeah, last week, and I talked about it. It was the first time. He was the first interview I've done about the book. It was the first time I talked about it, and it felt really weird still. And even now, talking to you about it, it
Yeah.
feels really weird being this open about it. I stood up at the Oregon Ghost Conference this weekend, and I was really open about it. And it's still unusual for me to be able to say, look, I guess I talk to dead people and I see them and I hear them, and, all of that. And oh, by the way, I believe I've lived past lives and I
Yeah. Well, I
believe that
mean,
I've come across those. And that's all stuff that inside I thought, yeah, this could be true, but my logical brain is going, no, it's not true, you idiot.
But isn't that the way we've been raised too?
It is. It's conditioning.
Exactly.
And so I'm stepping outside of my conditioning, and it's uncomfortable, but I got to do it.
And don't you find that now that you are, instead of saying I can't, you're saying why can't I, or I will?
Yeah. What the heck was I thinking all this time?
Exactly.
Why was I so afraid to be myself? I mean, I understand.
Yeah.
And to anybody who's listening, who's where I was, I really got shoved into the abyss by whatever it was that made me sit down and start writing this book.
Yeah.
And I published the book, and I didn't go through a traditional publisher. I self-published it because I knew I would have a failure of courage if I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And the second that book was published, I thought, oh, dear God, what have I done?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I know what
Mm-hmm.
you mean.
But I had to do it.
And don't you find, too, that as you progress or as you start admitting it and admitting it out loud,
mm-hmm.
you find more people
mm-hmm.
who are acceptive of it, and to the point
Yes.
where they're saying, well, I already knew that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what's funny is that to me it feels like I'm just letting, in a way I kind of feel like I've come out of the closet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like I'm letting it all hang out there. But you know what? There's probably more.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably more stuff, and 3 years from now, something else is going to come out, and I'm going to go, my God, how could I not?
Yeah, I know.
Isn't that the way life is?
I know. We have to take another quick break, but I would love for you to stick around for a little bit because I want to pursue this topic a little bit with you because
Sure.
I think it's important for people to hear this side of it.
Sure.
Because I think
Sure, I might as well.
Yeah, may as well. Why?
What the heck? I'm already halfway in.
Exactly. Why not? Take your NyQuil and you'll be fine. Okay.
That's right. In for a penny, in for a pound, ladies.
That's right. It's ladies' night here. Okay,
That's
don't
right.
go away. You're listening to The Broader View on the Hazy Radio Network. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned for Hazy Nights, immediately following The Broader View, right here on the Hazy Radio Network.
Get me on my way again. I feel you on my skin, I'll wash you off. Who are we to decide the fate of everyone who does not fit into this mold, into this predetermined definition of the way things are? But should they be? Our eyes are closed, pretending not to notice all the people marching by our window on their way to war. Oh, mercy, mercy me, burning like the sun, burning like the sun. Not the only one. Now we're lost in dreams of yesterday. In the silence following the storm that took your innocence away, like a moment from a film that we've seen 100 times before. It's not the same. You cannot tell